And in this one, we need to find the zeros of the function. So a zero of a function is the x value that makes the whole function equal to 0. So essentially, we're going to set the function equal to 0 and figure out what those x values are. So let me just rewrite this. We have minus 10x squared plus 490 is 0. And the general strategy is just solve for the squared term. So I'm going to subtract 490 on each side, or I can just add this to the other side. But let's just subtract 490. So I get minus 490. And then I'm going to divide both sides by negative 10 so that I can isolate this x squared term. You don't want it to have any coefficients when you take a square root of each side. So that's just 1 times x squared. So we'll just rewrite x squared. And over here, essentially, since they both end in a 0, they cancel each other out. And they're both negative, which cancels each other out. So you just get 49. And now, since we have the x squared term by itself, we're going to take a square root of each side. And we got to put our plus or minus. So we need the square root of 49. And that would be 7. So our answers are positive 7 and negative 7. And you can see that's true. If you plug that in here, negative 7 times negative 7 is positive 49. Likewise, 7 times 7 is 49. Now, to really make sense of this, you want to check your work. You want to plug these back into the function. And I'll show you how to do this. But all the preceding problems, you'll want to just check that. Pause the video and check that on your own. So g of 7, does this equal 0? So this is our check here. And when we do plug that in, so let me just rewrite it, g of 7, you get minus 10 times 7 squared. And we're going to add 490 to that. But 7 squared is 49, and minus 10 times 49 would be minus 490. So minus 490 plus 490 is 0. Now, what if you plugged in negative 7? Well, when you square a negative number, so it's in parentheses here, since we're plugging it in for x, and so whatever that is, we square it. This would also be positive 49, and minus 10 times 49 is minus 490. So you get the exact same scenario. But in both cases, when you plug in minus 7 or positive 7 into the function here, the function does equal 0. And so both of these x values, we will call these the zeros of the function. So let's do one more that's a little bit simpler. And we need to solve for x. So in this problem, I'm going to isolate that x squared term. So I'll first rewrite it. And to isolate this, we're going to subtract 1 on each side. So 6x squared is 486. And we want to get the x squared term by itself so that we can square root both sides. If you tried to square root both sides right now, you'd have to take the square root of 6, which is going to be irrational. So you don't want to do that. You want to just get your coefficient to be 1 here. So divide each side by 6. And so this is just 1 times x squared, or just x squared. And 6 goes into 48 8 times. No remainder. 6 goes into 6 1 time. So x squared is 81. And from here, we'll take a square root of each side. So that x is plus or minus. Don't forget that. The square root of 81. We need to account for the fact that there are 2 solutions to this. And those solutions would be minus 9 and positive 9. Since both of these squared would give us 81. And again, you can check your work. Plug it in here. So 9 squared is 81. Times 6 gives you 486. And then adding 1 gives you 487. So when you plug it in and check it, it does work. And likewise, minus 9 would work as well, since negative 9 times negative 9 is positive 81, and you get the exact same scenario. So the lesser x value is the negative 1, and the greater is the positive 1. And from here, let's move on to some more advanced problems.